Let's talk about Will Smith's potential civil liability after the slap heard around the world. As we all know, at the Oscars, Will Smith went on stage and assaulted Chris Rock, but I want to specifically talk about his potential civil liability. In the state of California, which is where the assault took place, you can not only be held criminally liable for an assault, but also civilly liable. And I want to talk about the elements of proving that type of case. So if Chris Rock decided to pursue a lawsuit against Will Smith based on this slap, his lawyers would have to prove that the defendant intentionally performed an action that resulted in harmful or offensive physical contact with another person. They're not going to have any issue with this first element. The intent is shown when Will Smith got out of his seat, walked up on stage, reared his right arm back, and slapped him on the face. So intent is very clear in this case. The second prong is that the injured person did not consent to the contact. Now, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that this was staged or that this was fake. I believe Chris Rock's team has come out and said that this was not fake. I know his brother has said that as well. So there was no consent to this act based on the evidence that we have thus far. Third element is that the contact caused harm to the person. I don't think it's really up for dispute that being slapped by a 225-pound man probably is going to hurt. So I think that would satisfy that prong. And then lastly, that a reasonable person in the injured party's position would have been offended or harmed by the contact. And when we look at that reasonable person standard, we're just talking about everyday people. Would the average person have been offended by being slapped on international TV by Will Smith and have to live with that for the rest of their life? Of course they would. So his potential civil liability, I think, is pretty hefty if Chris Rock does indeed try to pursue a lawsuit. The economic damages aren't going to be much of anything because you're not going to really need medical care for that. But the non-economic damages, the damages to his reputation, we're talking about Chris Rock, the damages to his potential legacy, him having to endure the ridicule that, you got slapped by Will Smith for the rest of his life, that video being played over and over and over again, indelibly imprinted in probably the nation's mind, probably for the rest of Chris Rock's life. That's serious. That can harm his reputation, certainly. In fact, already as he's going around the country, he was on tour, he's being heckled by people because of this incident. And so if Chris Rock decides to pursue a civil case, that's going to be a big problem for Will Smith because this is not the type of act typically that there's an insurance policy that covers. So this will be Will Smith potentially coming out of pocket for legal expenses and coming out of pocket for any judgment or damages that that may be awarded to Chris Rock by a jury or via a settlement.